Change is difficult for a lot of people, for most people, especially when the change is not something that you expect or something that you want. It is oftentimes a difficult thing. Good morning, Shantae. How are you? God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. Please do share. Change is something that is not welcomed oftentimes. Sometimes we welcome change when we can already see the benefits of it, when we already know there's going to be a great outcome. But what happens when our lives have to change and we don't see what the outcome is going to be? We don't see what's going to happen. We don't see if it's going to be a good thing or not. Or if we see that this change is going to cause us pain, this change is going to cause our lives to shift. This change is going to cause the dream that we thought to come true not to come true. How do we embrace change? I want to come to you from the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, a very, very familiar passage of scripture, but a very fitting passage of scripture as we navigate from one year to the next. And it reads, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." As we look at this subject matter, embracing change, the word of God is clear. If we look in the book of Ecclesiastes, and those of us that are students of the word, we understand that the Old Testament is broken down basically into the book. It's broken into sections, and the books are grouped together. And Ecclesiastes is a part of what we call the wisdom books. The title Ecclesiastes comes from the Greek word indicating a person who calls an assembly. So it makes that sense that the author identified himself by the Hebrew word translated as preacher. Despite only having this mysterious name to indicate his identity, evidence in the book, along with most Jewish and Christian tradition, suggests that King Solomon authored Ecclesiastes. And this would also make sense and be more fitting because we understand that Solomon was recorded as the wisest man in history. One of the things that really stood out was when the women came before him and they rolled over on the baby. Or one lady rolled over on the baby and the baby died, and she switched her baby out. And it was what he decided to do that he was able to resolve and find out who the true mother of this baby was. And so Solomon was rich. He had riches and he had wisdom that was known all over. Remember, the Queen of Sheba came in to see him. And why am I making such a big deal on Solomon? We were talking about change because one of the things that is going to help us be able to embrace change, to accept change, and to move on is to apply the wisdom of God along with wisdom from the experiences that we have had and wisdom from other people who have been where we are going now, so that we will be able to settle some things in our mind so that we can move forward and be able to embrace, hug, hold on to, laugh, and be full of joy in the things that's going to change in our lives. So as we look through here, we know that this book of wisdom, along with the book of Proverbs, are some books that we should definitely embrace for our everyday living. So the preacher here, the writer here, starts off by saying that for every time, for everything, for every season and activity under the heavens, there is a time. To everything, there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven. That's what the King James says. And, you know, the Amplified Version, I always love how the Amplified Version just takes things and bring it down. It says there is a season, an appointed time for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under the heaven. I'm going to read that again. There's an appointed time for everything, for every delight, event and purpose under the heaven. So as we shift from 2022 to 2023, understand that in this new year, there is going to be a time for everything under the heaven. And as we read through these particular things in Ecclesiastes 3, we understand that there are going to be some times that are good. There are going to be some times that are bad. When it goes here, it says there'll be a time to be born and a time to die. Death is something that we don't want to talk about. Death is something that we know that's happening, that's going to happen around us, eventually to us. But it's not something that we readily embrace. It's not something that we rejoice over. We rejoice over births, but not over death. But death, we understand, is the ultimate thing, that it has to happen to bring us from this place of where we are living in a temporary situation to a place of eternal life. Why are you saying that, Pastor Danielle? I'm saying that because as we take the literal aspect of our salvation and understand what death means, let's talk about what death of situations mean. I just told you guys a few moments ago when I came on, I have embraced my name change. I've let go of my married name. I can't change it on Facebook yet. They said I can't change it for another 30 or 45 days. But into the new year, I just wanted to make the transition of the new year. I'm going back to my maiden name. All connections have been severed with my identity as a married woman, my identity with my ex-husband. That was a death. Divorce is a death. Anybody that has gone through divorce, you grieve the same way that you would grieve for a person who died. But guess what? Just like in our salvation, death is not the end of the world. But death is the beginning. Somebody better get this. Of new opportunities, the death of your marriage, the death of that friendship, the death of that job, the death of this certain business that you had, the death of whatever that aspiration and goal and hope was that you had for yourself, the death of that thing that you wanted to live longer. Just like with your salvation, when you leave from this mortal body and move into the eternal space, that's where your reward is. I came to tell somebody this morning, embrace the changes in your life. Embrace the relationships that have to die. Embrace those things that in your life that have to change. Because when one thing dies, God is saying, I am trying to open up the door to usher you into a new place. I am trying to usher you into the door of your ultimate salvation. I am trying to usher you into the place of the eternal and everlasting. I am trying to usher you into your purpose. Maybe that thing that we wanted to live was the thing that was holding us back. Maybe the thing that we wanted to live was the thing that was keeping us from moving into our purpose. Maybe that job that we were holding on to was stopping us from moving into entrepreneurship. Maybe that relationship, that friendship, whether it was platonic or romantic, maybe it was keeping us from making connections with those persons that was going to be able to speak into our lives and open doors and introduce us to new people that was going to take us to the next level and to the next place in life. He goes on by saying there's a time to plant and a time to uproot. Let's go ahead and keep it 100. There's going to be some uprooting in this new year, but that's okay. Embrace it. Not everything is supposed to stay planted in your life. Let's talk about when you go outside and you walk out and you look at your beautiful patio or your driveway, but you see that little weed sticking up. And if you like me, you go over there and you reach down and you take that weed and you pluck it up and you make sure you don't just break off the leaves at the top, but you make sure you grab it good down near the bottom so that you can pull it up out and so that you can pull up every root that's associated so that that weed won't grow back. And then you might even go in the house and get you a little bottle of Roundup and spray down there to make sure that he does not come back, because there are some things that are planted in some of our lives that are not meant to be there. And in fact, they are not productive in any way. They're just weeds. But if we're not careful, if we're not walking in the Spirit, if we're not utilizing the wisdom of God, We will mistake a weed for a plant, and we wonder why this thing is just sitting here and year after year. Because what happens when you don't pluck that weed up? You keep coming back and it does not benefit you in any way. There's no flowers that grow on it. It does not produce any vegetation. It is just sitting there as a nuisance in the middle of your driveway, and you never see it produce anything. There are some relationships, there are some friendships, there are some marriages, there are some connections that are just weeds, and they're not fruitful in your life. And what is happening is they're sitting there messing up the way that things look. So guess what? If you were in a yard contest and the association came by to see who had the prettiest yard, and everything was wonderful in your yard, but then you got these weeds growing up in your driveway, you're not going to win. What am I saying? There are some things that are just hindrances in our lives because we leave them sitting there. When Solomon says that there's a time for us to uproot them. If I can have a transparent moment, not just in my divorce, but there were some relationships that died in my life, or that God had to uproot in 2022 that were painful. They hurt. Even on this last week, I've been having a lot of conversations, talking with people, just trying to see, okay, God, does this person fit in my life? Do they even fit in my life at all? And guess what? There are some people that I really like. Some people that I truly cared about. Some people that if I had my choice, I would just let them stay there and be a weed, because it was okay if they were there. They weren't really producing anything. They were just there kind of around. Guess what? Have always been around. Have been around for years and years and years. So I got comfortable with them, got used to them. So even though they weren't producing, I felt like they weren't. There wasn't any harm anyways. But God says you're carrying on baggage. Baggage that does not need to be there. And it was some times that hurt. I've had many days that I've cried this entire year. Once I got over the tears of my divorce and God started to show me my life and said, okay, Danielle, I made that cut for you in 2021. Now, this next year, this is going to be a year of me even cutting more. Because when 2023 comes, there's a place that I need you to go. And I know this might sound like a cliche, but y'all, when you've lived it, you understand why people preach the way that they preach, why people teach the way that they preach. Because he said to me, in this new year, there are some people that just cannot go. Not because they're bad people, but because it's just not a part of my plan. So can we embrace the plan of God when it changes our circle, when it moves things around in our life, when it causes you to have to pick up and disconnect from that homegirl that you used to talking to on the phone every day and just chopping it up with, and girl, see what happened and this and that. And again, it's not because that person is a bad person, but it's because God is saying, I need more of you. In this new year, I'm going to need more of you. I'm going to need more of your time. There's a plan that I have for you. There are certain things that you need to accomplish. And while you're chopping it up every day on the phone with your girlfriend for an hour a day, that's 7 hours. That's almost a whole work day that I can use you in this particular area to change a life. I can use you in this particular area to write your book. I can use you to start that business. I can use you to do mission works overseas. I can use you to go into your neighborhood and give back to those that are less fortunate. I can use you to speak into the life of somebody else. Why take your words and waste it in fruitless conversation? So the way that I am going to help you be disciplined is to cut that relationship. But when we understand that the changes that God has to make in our lives is for his purpose and for his greater good, then we will be able to really hold on to it and to embrace it. He said there's going to be a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. He's letting us know that sometimes we're going to be happy and jovial and we'll be breaking it down. And then there are going to be some days that you're going to have to curl up on your bed and cry your eyes out. But it's okay. It's a part of life. And I guess that's what I want to get at this morning, is when we understand that all of these things that we are going to face, the hurt, the pain, the ups and the down. It's just a part of life. But when we embrace them all, Paul talked about it. I taught it the other morning. Rejoice in all things. When we embrace it all, because we know that our Father has our best interest at heart. There was a very close friendship of mine that ended up having a rift in it, and we had to disconnect somebody that's been part of my life for decades. But in this new place of maturity, because I did go through a divorce on last year, because God has had to shift some things around in my life, I was kind of prepared for any other changes that would come. Didn't think it would be this particular type of change. Somebody that had been so close knit, because I'm one of those people that prides myself in keeping friendships. Some of the young ladies that were in my wedding party, for example, were elementary school friends. I still have connections with people that I was friends with since kindergarten. I don't like to break friendships. I'm a very, very loyal person, and I'm going to ride with you till the wheels fall off. But I didn't see this one coming. But even in that, when I got off of the phone and, everything blew up and we decided we needed to make the disconnect, I said, God, thank you. Not because I was happy to see my friendship dissolve, not because I was happy to disconnect from my friend, but I said, thank you. Because I understood that God is in control of everything. And if he brings us to a point of changing our lives, it is always going to be for our good. In this new year, in this new season of life that we are in, let us not look at the things that change in our lives as something that's bad. Even when it is a bad time, even when it is a painful time. But we've got to look at the fact that God, as our Savior, as our Father, he's the orchestrator of our lives. He's in control of our lives. And because we have yielded ourselves to him as believers, as his sons and our daughters, we have already said, God, do with me whatever it is that you want to do. Change in me whatever you want to change. Use me however you want to use me. So because we have submitted to that, we've got to submit, believe, and understand that everything that God moves in and out of our life, every situation that we're going to face in this new year, it is because he wants to use us in that way, and he's gonna get the glory out of it. It does not feel good when we have to lose friendships, but God, if you're gonna get the glory out of it, I thank you. It does not feel good when our marriages dissolve, but God, if you're gonna get the glory out of it, then God, I thank you. It does not feel good when we have to walk away from opportunities, but God, if you're gonna get the glory out of it, I thank you anyways. I want to talk to you just for this moment in my closing. Even when your finances have to change, give God the glory anyways. I was talking to a very dear friend of mine last night. We've been friends now, oh my gosh, probably about 15 years. And he and I were talking, and I was telling him, I said, there was a story that you told me a few years back that really helped me navigate through coming out of my divorce, going through some different things financially. And even now, as I am coming into this new year and I'm shifting some things around in my business, I've had to open some doors in business. I've had to close some doors in business. And some of the doors that I had to close, y'all get this, were doors that could have yielded me more money, that could have yielded me more resources. But I told him, I said, I remember this story that you told me as I have been making my decisions, and it has helped me. He was telling me about a Congress state representative, I think it was state representative, that he met with some years ago. And this lady was just, hey, matter of fact, knew who she was, knew what she wanted in life. And he sat down with some other constituents to make her a deal that was going to make her a substantial amount of money. But he said, without hesitation, the woman looked down, picked up her bag, and said, that doesn't fit with the plan of my life. It's not something that I'm interested in. You guys have a great day. And walked out the room and never looked back. He said they didn't hear from her. She didn't say, let me think about it. She didn't say, Maybe I'll think about it. Well, tell me a little bit more information. But when she understood what they were talking about, she didn't play with it. She took her bag and walked. What are you saying, Pastor Danielle? This year, we're going to have to learn how to take our bag and walk. We're going to have to learn how to stop entertaining things that we know does not fit with God's plan, destiny, and purpose for our life. Those things that we are trying to accomplish, we have got to just be able to look at things and in a split second decide whether or not it fits with where we're going. And when it doesn't, take your bag and walk. I've had to make some decisions even over the last few weeks of people. There's some people that I was trying to hold on to. God, please let them fit. Please let them fit in my life. I love them. But it comes a time when you got to pull those weeds up. Y'all, I'm back at the weeds. There comes a time when you've even got to walk away from money. There's been some times in my business that I've had to tell people, girl, get your W-2 and go somewhere else. Because you are not the type of customer that fits with my business and where I'm trying to go. I already see that you're the kind that's going to be on the internet causing problems. I already see that you're the kind that's going to lie to the IRS and the Social Security Administration and say that you didn't fill out this paperwork because you're trying to keep your benefits. I already see the lack of integrity, or I already see that my goal this year is to do X, Y, and Z. And if I take your bag just because it's got $25,000, $30,000, $100,000 in it, that might be an increase. But if I take that bag, it might stop me from my millions. Baby, I gotta go. That's what we've got to embrace in this new year. Is embrace a new you. So I was telling my friend, I said, it has taught me how to be. Can I use this word? And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to use this word and say it's taught me how to be cutthroat. Not cutthroat in a way that I'm out for people and being evil to them, but cutthroat in a way that I can make a decision, live with it, stick with it. Even if that means I got to cut. That's what my cut means. Even if it means I got to cut a relationship or cut off the opportunity for a business deal or cut off a connection, then it's okay. Because I know where I am going. Know where you are going this year. Know the road that you need to take. If you don't know the road, before you get on it, pray and ask God. Ooh, I'm done, y'all. Pray and ask God. And when he gives you the strategies, when he gives you the plan, when he gives you the direction, stick with it. And don't let anything take you off of that pathway. When you're walking with somebody, that's what happened in my marriage. When you're walking with somebody and you got a plan and you're on the same pathway, but then they allow somebody else to come and pull them off the road. You can do one or two things. You can go run behind them and try to drag them back to somewhere they don't want to be. Or you can get your bag and keep on walking. Life is too short, y'all. Remember that movie? I forget the name of it, but it was Eddie Murphy was in it. And he had only so many words that he could use. And as it got closer and he understood that his words were running out, because I think there were leaves falling off a tree, and that was an indication of how many words he had. He started to really have an appreciation for the things that was coming out of his mouth. So even in our words and our conversation, what if you knew you only had 1,000 words to speak? I think was the name of it. If you only had 1,000 words to speak on next year, would you be careful with your conversations? Would you be careful with who you gave your conversations to? Would you be careful for the things that came out of your mouth to make sure they were really important and edifying? Embrace the change even in your conversation. Let me tell y'all, I love a good joke. I love a good laugh. I try to laugh every single day. Sometimes I laugh at stuff that ain't even funny just because I didn't get my laugh in yet. But this year, maybe the change that you need to make is not so much carnal conversation. Not so much jaw-jacking and girl. Maybe the change that you need to make this year is being silent. See, there's power in silence. I learned that, y'all. When you get your bag and roll out and close your mouth and don't say anything else. Because I asked my friend, I said, well, did you hear back from the woman again? He said, nope. Never again. That was the last time I talked to her. And I know he told me that story 13, 14 years ago. So I'm not sure when it happened. Because, baby, she took her bag and closed her mouth and kept on going. Because she knew and understood. This is not for me. This is not a part of my destiny and my plan. I got to keep rolling. And there's nothing I need to say about it. Sometimes the enemy will trap us up and he will pull us off the course of our destiny because we feel like we got to just keep saying something. Hush. While you spending the time to talk and address a situation that you've already shut down. I said no one time. How many more times you need me to say no? Because when I sit there and listen to you for a whole nother hour, my answer's still going to be no. Went to a meeting a couple weeks ago. And when I walked in the door, I knew it was something I didn't want to be a part of. So I left within like 10 or 15 minutes. Somebody called me back and they said, well, hey, the people that had the meeting still wanted to just get a chance to talk with you and get to know who you are. Hey, I love to meet people. So I said, okay, we can have a phone conversation. As soon as we got on the conversation and it was starting to go into the same thing I heard at the meeting, I said, hold on. Let's save some time and some words. And the person said, well, hey, all you got to do is say this, tell some people this. I said, in 2023, the words that I have are reserved for ministry and things that are in my current business. I am in a rebuilding phase. I took a whole year off work to deal with the emotional trauma of going through my divorce. And now that I am back, I've got a whole year to make up for. So every word that is coming out of my mouth is going to go with building the ministry and my business and building my family and children back up. I'm sorry, I don't have any words left for this. I don't have any words left to promote your business. I don't have any words left to go over here unless God tells me to do it. And God is not telling me to do this, so I cannot. I'm sorry. Let's end this conversation now. Whatever the change, and I know I've covered a lot of things, and I'm done, guys. We're getting ready to pray. But whatever the things are that you know that you need to change, do differently, upgrade your mindset, disconnect, whatever it is, you do it. And don't try to hold on to that old season. Summer, winter, spring, and fall. If we had summer all year, if we had winter all year, if we had spring all year, if we had fall all year, this world would be in a mess because there's supposed to be climate change in order for the vegetation to live and for certain plants and crops that we need to grow and to flourish. There are some things that flourish well in the winter that don't flourish well in the summer. For the animals and the livestock to be able to live, for our conditions, for us, for our bodies even need the change of climate. So doesn't your life need a change? Let the climate change. Deal with it, embrace it. Go get whatever help you need to help you manage through it. I messaged my therapist the other day and I sent her the video about, me launching the ministry, and I told her, I said, pray with me for this new season that I'm going into. And go ahead and put me on your calendar, girl, because I know I'm going to need to sit on your couch so that I can remain balanced. If you need to go get a therapist, a counselor, a life coach, or somebody to help you navigate through it, by all means. That's why you got to cut some people out your life now, because God may be trying to connect you with a new person that can really coach you through these new seasons, because that's, I think, one of the reasons why it is difficult for us to embrace change, because sometimes we don't know how to go through it and really get the full benefit of it. But there's God's going to connect you with some people that's going to help you understand that this is the benefit and why this thing shifted. So this is why you need to be here, and this is why this person needs to be in your life now and not this person. The friend that I connected with that I was talking to last night, that I reconnected with, after we've had not really a falling out, but we just had some time when it was not appropriate for our friendship during the time that I was married. And once I divorced, we reconnected and have become friends again. And Now I see why God has even reconnected that relationship. This person is very straight-laced, going to keep me on track. If I bring some drama and foolishness to the table, he's going to be like, hold up, sis. That has no place here. I need you to focus and get on your business. So I know with restarting everything, those are the type of people that I need in my life right now. I don't need nobody that's going to be like, girl, it's all right. Child, if you don't go to work today or if you don't do that, girl, just lay in the bed. No, I need somebody that's going to say, get your behind up. Get your behind up and get on out this house, girl. You got everything to gain when you walk out that door, but when you lay in this bed and cry all day long, you're going to miss out on opportunities. You better get up, wash your face. That crying season is over. Because again, even me, I was trying to take depression with me into 2023. I had a couple weeks, about a month ago, I talked about it on my live a few weeks ago, that I boo-hooed for an entire week. Had a few times last week, boo-hoo-hooing. And God had to put somebody in my space and say, girl, if you get your face out of that bed and go wash it and put some makeup on it and put some clothes on and walk out of this house like the boss that you are, like the queen that you are. That's what we need in this new season. Embrace it. Embrace the change. Embrace that for that friend that's coming into your life that's getting on your nerves because they pushing you to your destiny. But your flesh trying to stay back where it is. Embrace it. Hold on to it and don't let it go. I just want to encourage somebody. God's got some great things in store for us this year. But unfortunately and fortunately, there's going to be some things that's going to be different. It's okay. It's okay. Because the thing that I found out that is the most important in the middle of the hurt, pain, and everything that we face and how we have the ups and downs, when we get off this live today, something's going to change in somebody's life. But because I go lay down and put my head on that pillow and wake up the next morning, that means I've got another opportunity. And with every day, there's going to be a change. And that thing that devastated you on yesterday, if you hold on long enough, today might just be the day that God brings you that thing that is going to put a smile on your face, that's going to make you happy. Single sisters, I'm talking to me too. Today just might be the day that instead of you laying in the bed crying and being depressed and woe is me, oh, my marriage didn't work, or my boyfriend walked out, my fiance broke off the engagement. Today might be the day that you drag yourself out of bed, put you some clothes on and walk off and go into the gas station and meet Mr. Right. You too, brother. Today might be the day that the love of your life left you. Walked out with the babies and said, I don't want you anymore. Today might be the day that you go and sit down and get you a sandwich and you meet the woman of your dreams. That's why we got to embrace change. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to another, but we've got to bet on the fact that because the God that we serve loves us, that every season that he brings into our life has a benefit and a purpose. Let us pray.